I remember a book that I read some time ago. It's been on the market for quite a few years. And I seem to remember, I don't know all the details, so this isn't a radical endorsement of the book in any way, shape, or form, but I think the book was called like Sacred Marriage, and I don't remember the author's name, but he makes this one point in like 200 or 300 pages, and the point is this: the purpose of marriage is not to make you happy, but to make you holy. It doesn't mean that happiness doesn't come in the wake of that, but he's very real. Not every day of marriage is perfectly happy. That's a myth. It doesn't work that way. And his argument is that God puts us in a marriage relationship not to teach us to be happy, but to teach us to be holy, to teach us about himself. So do you personally think there's any merit in that concept? Do you think the world might be getting it wrong when they keep underlining this idea that marriage is there to make you happy, that you're going to find the one person who completes you, and that marriage is about personal fulfillment?
Wow. There are a lot of questions within that question.
There are.
First, I think as I've grown in my spiritual walk with God, I really believe, not just in marriage, but in all aspects of life, that no one has been promised happiness. Happiness is fleeting, but what God does promise us is joy. And those are two different things. Joy.
Okay, unpack that a little bit, because I'm not sure that everybody thinks that way anymore.
Yeah, it's something that I have had to transition into myself and my own thinking, my own walk with God. But to be happy, that's where you're enjoying an experience and things are light. That's the way I think of happiness. Things are light and things are fun and things are maybe easy. That's different from joy, where joy is where you say, okay, Lord, you have promised me good things. You have promised me a future. And in the marriage context, I say, I have a husband I love. I have the basic necessity.
What?
Like you didn't know that. Come on.
Yeah. Who is this man?
I'll introduce you. But even if, say, we're in the middle of a fight or things are not going well in the home.
Folks. Yeah, no, does not happen.
Yeah, we never fight. We're both oldest children in our families. We're both stubborn. Yeah, we fight. But say that you're in the middle of a fight or things are not going well for whatever reason. There are a myriad reasons, but you can still have joy because the foundation is solid. And that's the difference. I mean, happiness, depends on circumstances. Joy is a commitment and a deeper purpose. It goes much deeper than momentary happiness. That's how I think of it. And so I think God does promise us that joy. We can experience joy in life, even when we don't feel happy and smiley. That wouldn't be realistic to think that we're going to go around happy and smiley every day of our marriage.
Right.
So again, back to the marriage context. So in Scripture, God talks about his covenant with his people.
Right.
After the flood, God covenants in the book of Genesis. He says that I will establish my covenant with you and with your descendants after you. So he's establishing that relationship with his people. And then let me just flip over here, Sean, to Leviticus 26. Leviticus 26, verse 12.
Let me get that too.
This is a beautiful verse, and in its original context, it's talking about God's relationship with Israel. And it says, verse 12, I will walk among you and be your God, and you shall be my people. And spiritually, that applies to each and every one of us who are believers, that we are part of that covenant promise where God promises he is our God. We are his people.
Wow.
And really, our marriages are an example of that, aren't they? You and I have we promised to each other more than 26 years ago now, that we're each other's person. We are committed to each other. And so in that commitment, I don't know that every day we will be happy. Well, I do know every day we're not going to be happy in that.
Right.
But we can,
especially when you're being stubborn and you know I'm right.
Right.
Those are the most unhappy days.
I'll admit I'm stubborn,
Yeah.
but you're just as stubborn.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you're wearing that orange shirt for a reason.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a Dutch shirt, by the way.
It's a Dutch shirt.
The Dutch are known for being rather blunt.
Well, and I definitely have Scottish blood in my line, so
There you go.
There's that. But in spite of the daily frustrations and things that don't make us happy and giddy and smiley, we have that promise to each other, just as we have that covenant God has with his people, and there's that deep, solid joy that's underneath all of it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I do tend to agree with this premise that marriage is primarily to make you holy and secondarily happy. I think happiness comes, I would use the word, you're using joy for that. Peace is sort of the way that I've thought about that, is like, okay, not everything's great today, but I have peace. There is something solid here.
Similar concept.
That I can rely on. And in the idea that, I think a lot of people now are approaching marriage and relationships looking for that person who completes you, as if, it's all about my personal fulfillment. I got to find the person that makes me happy. That's backward. If you pursue your own happiness, and I know I'm a big believer in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that everybody should have the absolute liberty to chase those things, that society works best when you leave people alone in their own pursuits. But the pursuit of happiness is a bit futile because your favorite subject is still you. And, the Bible talks in Proverbs chapter 16, or Proverbs chapter 30, it talks about things that are never full. Starts in verse 15. There are 3 things that are never satisfied, 4 that never say enough. Okay, so the grave is one of those.
Okay.
The graveyard's never full. Okay, that's enough dead people. There's always going to be more. It never gets to the end. The barren womb, that leaves a woman aching forever and ever. The earth that is not satisfied with water. It can rain once, not going to... And the fire that never says enough, it won't burn any more stuff. And so and it goes on for a bit, but I'm looking at human selfishness now. I think that I would add that to the list of things that are never satisfied. So, for example, somebody who has an addiction to whatever it is. Some people eat emotionally, some people shop emotionally, and they're looking for something to complete them, and they go out and say, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy a new suit of clothes.
XYZ.
Yeah, I'm going to buy, and I'll feel amazing. And they feel amazing for 4 minutes, and then the emptiness comes back because the pursuit of personal happiness, looking for someone else to make you happy, that will never get to the end.
Right.
And if you approach marriage that way, you're going to be disappointed because that person does not exist to complete you. The only one who completes you in this universe is Christ at any rate. That's what you're looking for. But in the marriage covenant, he's trying to teach you how that happens. He empties himself for you. And so in marriage, he's trying to teach you to live for somebody else. And it is remarkable how when you put someone else's happiness at the top of your agenda, one morning you wake up and realize, I have peace of mind. I'm happy because I wasn't chasing me now. And I think in marriage, God puts you in a situation where you can actually live for somebody else's happiness. And that's not an easy lesson, I'll be honest. We're all selfish, and there's a lot of days you want to take care of your needs first. It doesn't lead to happiness. And I think that might be one of the things you learn in there.
Yeah,